Today we're settling a serious holiday debate: sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie. Now, sweet potato pie is probably the fan favorite, but I think people might be sleeping on pumpkin pie. I'm gonna show you guys both recipes. We're gonna taste test them and see which one's the best. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. All right guys, first things first, we're getting the party started with sweet potatoes. Now, you have several options here. You can use the canned stuff, which I do not recommend, but if you're in a super pinch, you can do that. We're using canned for pumpkin. But fresh is best when it comes to sweet potato pie, in my opinion. I made a lot of these. You have two real options. You can do them in the oven, low and slow. They're gonna take over an hour usually to get as tender as you need them to get to be able to mash them up for the purposes of sweet potato pie. Or you can fast track the process a bit and use the microwave. That's gonna shorten the duration of the cooking time by 40, 50 minutes. So depending on how pressed you are for time, there is a marginal difference in flavor, but for me, the time savings is more important than that very small extra flavor you get from the oven. Today we're using the microwave. So when it comes to any potato, really, they're a root vegetable. Obviously they grow in the ground, so they're typically pretty dirty. You wanna make sure you get them nice and clean. Even though we're not really eating the skin, it's still a good best practice to get into. A nice wet paper towel, you can kind of give them a good scrub. Make sure they're nice and clean. Then what we're gonna do is puncture the potatoes a bit so they can steam a little bit in the oven, in the microwave. You can do it if you're doing it in the oven too. Once we puncture them, I'm gonna wrap them in a damp paper towel and put them in the microwave until they're nice and tender. You wanna rotate them, move them around a little bit, make sure they're cooking evenly. But the goal is to get them clean, puncture them with, put some holes in them so they can steam, wrap them in a damp paper towel, and then put them in the microwave. All right guys, so once the potatoes are fork tender, we're gonna go ahead and gut them, remove the skin, put all the sweet potato into our mixing bowl that we're gonna utilize. Then we're keeping it old school today. I'm using a hand masher and a hand blender. If you got a KitchenAid or one of those fancy technology pieces in the kitchen, then by all means go ahead and use it. But today we're keeping it old school. Just gonna go ahead and use the potato masher, begin the mashing process here. Then we're gonna start to work in some of our other ingredients. Quick reminder guys, all the specific measurements and ingredients for this recipe and all of my recipes can be found at mrmakeithappen.com. Now, if you need more holiday recipes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell to enable notifications. We're gonna go ahead and just get the process started. We're not really trying to mash them all the way, but just to make it a little easier on the hand blender. I've had that thing since like probably the 90s, so we don't wanna utilize all the horsepower on this. So hand masher at first. Then we're going in with 1 cup of milk. And that's when I'm gonna break out the hand blender. Start to mix that in. We'll start adding in our sugar, all of our other ingredients. All right guys, there's a couple flavor enhancers that I think are critical when it comes to making a great sweet potato pie. One is the addition of a pinch of salt. Some people leave that out when it comes to baking, but salt really amplifies all the other flavor components in the recipe. So you want to add a good teaspoon or so of salt, just a good pinch. Also a little citrus, either orange or lemon zest and a little juice, or orange extract if you have that. Just a little bit of citrus balances out all the sweetness that you get in a sweet potato pie, adds a nice little background note that people have, inquire about at the dinner table. All right guys, we're going in with 3 cups of white sugar. That may sound like an alarming amount of sugar because it is an alarming amount of sugar, but it's Thanksgiving, we're making sweet potato pie. This is gonna make multiple pies, so it's not all going into one serving, but there is quite a bit of sugar in here to be fair. Next, we're going in with our cinnamon, nutmeg, pinch of allspice. I like a good whole tablespoon at least of cinnamon. Gotta really get that flavor in there. Much less nutmeg. Nutmeg packs a punch, so does allspice, so you want to be, a little bit more conservative with those two. Being that we haven't added our eggs yet, it's totally safe to taste this as you go and adjust the flavor to your preference. Once we add the eggs in there, technically you shouldn't, be eating raw eggs. Sometimes I still will taste it, but I wouldn't recommend you guys do that. Next, we're going in with the vanilla extract, the butter extract. Flour and eggs go in last after we get the flavor right. Pinch of salt. All right guys, I'll let the cameraman give it a taste test. They're raving about it. Tastes great. This is the color also. Most importantly, when you see a sweet potato pie, the color's got to be right. And this is the color that I like right here. Obviously, you maybe use something different, but if you're following this recipe, I assure you, you're gonna love it. Going in with 2 tablespoons of flour, and then our 3 eggs that we are going to whisk in as well. Now, when it comes to Thanksgiving or anything where you're prepping heavy like that, I like to do certain things the night before. This is one of them. So if you're making this for Thanksgiving, you can prep this and put it in the fridge a night or 2 before you actually bake the pies. This will save you a lot of time and labor. You can do it, have it ready, get your pie crust ready, dump it in, put it in the oven. You're good to go for Thanksgiving. Make ahead, put it in the fridge. That's my recommendation.
And this episode is sponsored by Our Place. You ever flip a pancake and pray the pan doesn't betray you? Me too, until I found this titanium cookware. Game changed. I've been cooking on this set for a while now, and here's what matters most. They're feather light to lift, but crazy durable. The titanium reinforced nonstick gives you that slick release so eggs and fish slide right off, and cleanup is basically 5 seconds. They handle high heat, they go from stove to oven, and they work on induction, so they're actually useful in every kitchen I use. No more oil slick messes or ruined pans, just reliable heat, fast sear, and consistent results every time. Honestly, I made a weeknight dinner that normally takes forever, and with this set, I had dinner on the table in half the time with less fuss. The food was great, and I didn't have to spend all night doing dishes. And right now, perfect timing, they're running their Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday event. It's a limited time sale on the full titanium line, and I've got a special link for you. If you want cookware that actually makes cooking easier and cleaner, don't wait. Holiday stock moves fast. Hit the link in my description to shop, and if you're watching this after the sale ends, feel free to use my code MakeItHappen10 for 10% off your purchase.
All right, people, next up, the most neglected, overlooked, underappreciated dessert of Thanksgiving of all time, pumpkin pie. For that, super easy. We need 1 can of Libby's pure pumpkin puree. Going in with that. Don't got to spend an hour and a half baking sweet potatoes. Now listen, I love sweet potato pie like the next guy, but I think pumpkin, if you're looking for something easy and equally delicious, it's good. We're gonna find out if it's as good as sweet potato pie today. If you stick around, you'll find out. Going in with 1 can of that and 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. This is organic. Makes me feel a little bit healthier about my decisions. Then we're going in with our brown sugar and white sugar. Again, guys, quick reminder, all the specific measurements and ingredients for this recipe can be found at MrMakeItHappen.com. Then we need 2 yolks and 1 whole egg. So for that, we're just going to crack some eggs over a bowl here and use the shell to separate the yolks. So real easy. You can do this with your hands too if you want, but another little trick is to just use the shell. Bounce the yolk back and forth till it is separate from the whites. And then boom. 2 yolks, 1 egg. I'm going to break out the mixer or the whisk and just give this a good mix. Hand blender will work here just fine. KitchenAid will work here just fine. But being that it's a puree, you know, you can just use a whisk for this recipe as well. Save yourself a little dishes. Give that a mix, and then we're going in with our cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, pinch of salt, a nice tablespoon or so of cinnamon, a pinch of nutmeg, a teaspoon of ginger. It's going to add a nice little pop, offset some of that sugar and sweetness that we got. So a little teaspoon of ginger and a pinch of salt. Now you might think that this is a little less sugar than the other recipe, and you would be right, but the other one makes about 3 pies. This one's going to make 1 to 2 depending on if you're using a deep dish. And also there's plenty of sugar in that 1 can of condensed milk, so don't forget about that. You can always taste and adjust. If you want it sweeter, you can make it sweeter, but this recipe actually comes out plenty sweet, so trust me. This is also a great color for pumpkin pie right here. It's going to be a little bit lighter than the sweet potato, but it's going to be great. That's really simple as that. All you got to do, put the ingredients in there, give it a mix, pop it in the fridge 24 to 48 hours ahead of time if you want to. It'll be ready to bake. All right, people, it's time to bake our pies. Now, if you're a big back like me, you got to get the deep dish pie. That's what I'm looking for. When I go to a Thanksgiving somebody's house for Thanksgiving, and I'm looking at the spread, I want to see a nice thick deep dish pie. We have 2 Pillsbury pies here. These, you want to puncture a couple holes in them, pop them in the oven at 350 for about 10 to 15 minutes. I usually go about 10 minutes, pull them out, and then we'll fill them up and get them back in the oven. All right, guys, we already talked about storing this in the refrigerator for 24 hours, but what if you have some extra or you want to make this super in advance? This also freezes really well. You want to put it in an airtight, vacuum sealed bag or a freezer bag, lay it flat into the freezer, and it'll last at least 3 months in the freezer. You want to defrost it in the refrigerator preferably, and it'll be good as new. All right, people, there you have it. We got pumpkin pie, we got sweet potato pie. In my opinion, it's best to let these rest overnight, but you definitely want to give them at least 2 to 4 hours to really let them finish cooking, everything kind of come together. I pulled these a little early, so the pumpkin pie is falling apart a little bit. If this was Thanksgiving, I would have did this the night before. Either way, texture is good. Flavor, let's find out. We're gonna try the pumpkin pie first. Let's get in there and see. You see that little sheen at the top? It's glossy. Pumpkin pie is underrated, guys, I'm telling you. Try this recipe. That's good. It's rich, flavorful. Can it compete with the sweet potato pie? That is the question. All right, I gotta be honest. Sweet potato pie is a little better. They're both damn good though. Let's get the crew back here and see what they think. Mix them together. They're cousins. I'm gonna go spend a moment by myself while they taste it. Carrot pie might be good.
That's good. That's good.
Pumpkin ain't bad.
I need a palate cleanser though.
Little milk.
You say it's rich. That's rich. But like,
This one tastes more like a traditional.
I can eat this with
Sweet
dinner,
potato.
and then after I'm gonna go there like for dessert.